Good morning, everyone. I am Jensen Abaco, and today I will be talking about the techniques on how to use inductive approach. There are three techniques that we are going to study today. First is the generative situation, second, guided discovery, and third, minimal sentence pairs. First technique, the generative situation. It is a situation which the teacher sets up in the lesson in order to generate several example sentences of a structure. The advantage of a situational context permits presentation of a wide range of language items. The situation serves as a means of contextualizing the language, and this helps clarify its meaning. In addition, the generated examples provide the students information for finding the rules of form. It is less dry than a conventional grammar explanation since students can participate in both the presentation's development and the solution to the grammatical problem. So, a well chosen incident may also be more memorable than a straightforward explanation. And all of these indications point to the great efficacy of the strategy. Whereas the disadvantage is that if students are in the wrong mindset, they are unlikely to do the kind of cognitive work involved in the induction of grammar rules. Additionally, a presentation of this nature requires more time than an explanation. It is arguably that what the majority of students need is not the presentation of rules, but rather opportunities to practice them. Time spent on language presentation is invariably time spent at the expense of language practice. So, as a result, the generating circumstance is penalized for its economy. It is also calls for a creative teacher who not only has the imagination to create scenarios that result in multiple sentences with the same structure, but also the resources and the time to create the necessary visual aids. Here is an example scenario. We have a character named Andy, a traveler. Andy has decided to drive across the Australian desert from the east to the west. So, what do you think are the preparations a person would need to make for such a journey? That Andy would need a map, a spare wheel, lots of water, a traveling companion, food, a first aid kit, and so on. So to do this kind of journey, you should have take a map, take water, not travel alone, advise the police, and not travel in the wet season. However, Andy made no preparations. He didn't take a map. He didn't take water. He traveled alone. He didn't inform the police and didn't bring food. So imagine what happened to him. You might think that Andy probably set off, got lost, got very thirsty, set off in search of help, leaving his vehicle behind, and got trapped by sudden floodwaters. The police set out in search of him but couldn't find him because he had abandoned his vehicle and left no note. So, how many answers do we have? We have five possible answers addressing the question of what might happen to him. Now, what do you think of Andy? You might think he was stupid, right? And why? You might say he must take a map But having this established the idea of disapproval of past actions, we should say he should have taken a map. So again, did he take a map? No. Was that a good idea? No. So, he should have taken a map. Did he take a water? No. He should have taken water. Did he travel with someone? No. So, he shouldn't have traveled alone. Did he stay on his car and waited for the police? No. He shouldn't have left his car. So, there, how many sentences we have been generated so far? He should have taken a map. He should have taken water. He shouldn't have traveled alone. He shouldn't have left his car. A total of 5 sentences. And those are the several examples of sentences of a structure generated under generative technique. Moving on to the second technique, guided discovery. The principles of the guided discovery approach were originally intended for self-instruction as part of the kind of programs used in language laboratories, where a teacher provides examples of a language item and helps the learners to find out the rules themselves. For example, let's find the rule here. You know Andre and Mark, don't you? They work every day. Joey talks to tourists and Jane writes letters. We always go to their travel agency. The agency offers tours to many different countries. I like their service too. So the rule here is S is only added to regular verbs in the present tense when the subject of the verb is a third person singular subject. This S is different from the plural S. So do not confuse the two. There is a final S on the verb with only certain subjects. And what are they? They are he, she, and it among these choices. Why? Let's go back to the rule. We can only add an S to the verb if the subject is third person singular, such as he, she, it, Martha, Sam, etc. So do not add an S if the subject is plural. For example, Martha and Sam. Now let us apply the rule. I sees Mark almost every day. Or she calls. She and Mark comes to the house on weekends. Mark usually tells us some funny stories. Now let me read it with the correct verb. I see Mark almost every day. Or she calls. She and Mark come to the house on weekends. Mark usually tells us some funny stories. Alright, that wraps the discussion for guided discovery. Moving on to the third and final technique, the minimal sentence pairs. The teacher can better direct the student's attention to how the choice of form produces a difference in meaning by offering two sentences that are only different in one or two features. The context of the sentence should be reasonably self-evident and it should be lexically basic. So, teaching differences between past simple and present perfect. What differentiates the present perfect form from the simple past? When an action started in the past but has consequences in the present perfect is used. However, the simple past tense shows that an activity was completed at a particular point in the past. For example, I have watched all of Squid Game's episodes. I saw their latest episode last week. Since 1990, I have taught in Spain for 5 different universities. I taught for the Spain International University in 1996. Have you ever been to Sydney? When were you in Sydney? The lack of economy in the generative situation is addressed by the minimal pair. The minimal pair's presentation combines the best aspects of an explanation driven approach and a discovery approach by getting right to the point. Planning and setting it up are also both rather simple. Its effectiveness strongly depends on the selection of the example sentences and the lack of context, which can occasionally cause pupils or students to draw the incorrect conclusions, or more significantly, no conclusions at all, is a problem that is much more serious. Here's another set of examples. Set A: they've been painting the kitchen. They've painted the kitchen. So, as you can see, nothing serves a purpose to help learners in sorting out the distinction between these two phrases. Set B: what a mess. Yes, they've been painting the kitchen. The flat is looking nice. Yes, they've painted the kitchen. So, on the other hand, the difference in meaning starts to unravel with a little bit more background. The inductive method of teaching is pedagogical and challenges learners to construct their knowledge through their interactions with the material. It considers a student a participant in the construction of knowledge. It focuses on their interaction with materials instead of just the information presented by the instructor, which is the case with the deductive method of teaching. The main reason why inductive teaching is so effective is that it has a student centric approach. And that ends our discussion. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and have a great day.